Well, welcome back to another video. As is tradition, every year here on the Smallholding we raise and butcher 2 pigs to give us a year's supply of meat for a family of 4. The breed we chose this year were large blacks, which were absolutely ideal to deal with. They were lovely and friendly, they were no problem to keep, and they've turned out a lovely carcass. Right, we got these pigs back in April at roughly 12 weeks old, and we've kept them for 6 months nearly, so they're roughly about 9 months old. And what we've got back is 2 carcasses. One was weighing 90 kilos and the other one was 86 kilos. This is half of the bigger of the 2, which is a 90 kilo one. So this is roughly a 45 kilo half pig. I've already cut up the other 3, which we'll show you at the end of the video what we've done with them. But with this one, we're going to do something slightly different. I've already got a video of last year's pigs, which is very detailed of how we've cut them up and how you bone them out and how you process it. And Tracy will put a link in the video below. But we're going to do something slightly different with this one. That's why I thought I'll bring it home and give you a quick run through what we're going to do with it. So last year we did the whole pig as pork, but this year we're going to do something slightly different. So half of the back is going to go into bacon, half of the belly is going to go into bacon for streaky bacon, and the leg we're going to put into steaks and gammon for Christmas. So the first thing to get done is get split down into the 4 primals, and then we'll go through one at a time and show you what we're going to do with it. In the second part of the video, we're going to show you how we make up the brine for the gammons, and we're going to show you how we make up the rub for the salt for the bacon. And then at the end of the video, we'll give you a breakdown of everything of what it costs to raise 2 pigs at home. This is the head end minus the head. So this is the shoulder, this is the middle, and these are the back legs. So first thing we're going to do is get this shoulder off. So we just count 4 ribs. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then all we're going to do is cut through the meat there down to this bone. Get the saw, just saw through that back bone, not through the meat, just through the bone. Back on the knife, just cut through that shoulder blade and then take that shoulder off like that. These have quite a bit more fat on than our Gloucester roast spots last year, but it all adds to the flavour. If you're wondering why we've hit the shoulder blade there, that's just because we want a longer loin for more back bacon and less on the shoulder for joints. Right, the next task is getting the middle from the leg. So you come down the tailbone there to the point, and then you just go to that second joint there, run your knife through that and through the belly. Get your saw again, go through the backbone, not the meat, just the backbone. Back on your knife. Then you've got your leg, your middle, and your shoulder. Next we're going to separate the loin, where you get your back bacon and your chops from your belly pork. So you're just going to run your knife down that bit of meat there. All this will go into sausage. And you just cut a little slit through the fat, and get your finger under the fat. And then just pull that till it comes out, and that'll go with the other fat off the other 3 halves, and that'll get rendered down into pork lard. So if you look down the line at this bit, you just want to come in 1 inch or 2, put your saw on there, then you're just going to cut through these bones here and stop, because there's no bones in this back bit there. So we're just going to cut through these bones till you get through the bones and hit the meat, and then you just run your knife through there, separating the loin. Right, so now we've got all that split apart. We've got the 4 primal joints. We've got the leg, the belly, the loin, and the shoulder. So we're going to start with the bacon and the gammon stuff first. So we'll get all that out of the way. So we'll just put the shoulder to one side for now, and then we'll get on with this bit. Right, we'll start off with the belly pork. So all we're going to do is square it off. So all you're going to do is cut a few inch joint off the bottom and then turn it around. You've got a little bit of gristle here at the end of the ribs, so we're just going to come up the side of the belly there and take that off, and then onto the ribs. So all we're going to do there is run the knife under that bit of meat down there, and then you've got your gristly bits of your ribs there at the bottom, which you don't want to cut through yet, so just leave them on. And then you want to get your knife underneath the ribs there, and just keeping your knife pointed upwards towards the bone, just run it along, loosening the ribs out, keeping your knife pointing up towards the bone so you're not going into the meat. And then when you get to the bottom, you just pull and nick and pull and nick, and then there will just come out like that. And then all you want to do, you don't want that gristle off there, so you just put your knife through, run it through that gristle, and then you've got a nice rack of pork ribs. Right, so all we're going to do with the belly now, we're going to do half for belly slices and half for streaky bacon. So I'm just going to roll it round like that, and on the lean end, so you get a lean end which is towards the leg, and then a fattier end which is towards the shoulder. The fatty end is going to go into bacon. So off the leaner end, we're just going to cut belly slices like that. So we'll maybe get 4 slices. Or 4 slices. And then with the fattier end, I'm just going to square it up. None of this is going to go to waste, all this is going to go into sausage meat. So this end we're just going to keep for streaky bacon. So as you can see, it's got quite a bit of fat on it there. So on the other ones, I've skinned all the skin off and done it as rind off. But I think we're going to leave this as rind on and see what the difference is in the two. I'm just going to put this to one side while I get on with the trim. So all we're going to do with this trim is just run your knife through, down to the skin, and get as much meat as you can. And all this will go into sausage meat. So just put a bowl to one side for all the sausage meat trim. I'm going to put all this to one side as well, because all the waste that we do get, we're going to weigh and deduct it at the end and give you like as close as we can an account of how much meat you get and how much it's going to cost per pound or per kilo of meat that you get. So when I say trim, that just means all the offcuts that you get, that's not off all your prime cuts that you're going to use, like your belly, your leg. So it's just all the offcuts that's going to go into sausage meat, like that. So now next we're going to tackle the loin. Now as you can see, there's a nice bit of fat on the loin. So like in my other video, we're going to skin that off because we do want rindless back bacon and rindless pork chops. So we're just going to skin that off now. So I don't know if you've seen in the other video, me skinning it off, but you just go in the middle of the fat. You don't want to be nowhere near the meat and nowhere really near the skin. But you want to leave a nice bit of fat on the skin because we are going to use this skin as crackling. So you just want to get your knife in the middle of them two. Run it down nice and slow, keeping your knife in the middle of the fat as you go. You don't want to be cutting through into the meat. If you haven't got a lot of fat on the back of your pigs, this is quite hard to do because then you will be in the meat. But this has got a nice layer of fat on, which makes it a lot easier to take the skin off. So you just run your tip of your knife, keep going down until you get to the base. And then you've got a nice big slab of pork crackling. So we just put that to one side and then we're just going to score that, cut it into 4 or 3, and then we'll use that for, like I say, for pork crackling. Now we're just going to take the ribs out of the loin. So you just go at the top of your ribs using the tip of your knife and start cutting in, pointing your knife towards the ribs and not this way towards the meat. And just start running it down the bone and pulling the top as you go. So you just keep going, keep using the tip of your knife. Don't want to be going too deep with the knife so your knife's going into the meat. And then when you get to the base, you just again pulling the meat apart. Just try and keep as close to the bones as you can and out of the meat. This one's when it's been split at the abattoir, it's been split quite close to the spine. And then you just turn it over and you just want to come down the base of the spinal column there. Stick it close to the bone, and then all we do is just flip that over, tidy it up. I'm going to cut a little trimming of fat off the bottom there, and then turn it around. And all we'll do is just, I'm a bit finicky, so we'll just square it up. I'll just go into trim, And there you've got your boneless loin. Right, now we're just going to turn this loin into half for chops and half for bacon. Like I said, the second half of the video, we are going to show you how we do the bacon. So I'm just going to take some nice pork chops off this end. This is the shoulder end because we like the fat running all the way through. I'll show you when we get halfway past the middle how you'll see the meat change. It's about halfway through, so as you can see there, compared to that, how you get a lot more fat through the meat than you do once you get down towards the leg end. So that end I think will make better bacon, and these ends we like as the chops because they've got a bit more fat in. Right, now just to deal with the bone that comes out of the loin. It doesn't matter if you don't get as close to the bone as that, you can always trim it up at the end, but all the trim out of these bones is all going to go into sausage meat. So you just go between the bones. The bones won't go to waste either, they'll be going into stock. So you just go in between the bones. And then all we do with that is for trim for sausage meat, and the bones we just cut down the spine, split in half so they're big enough to go in a pot, and we'll put them to one side. So out of the 4 primals, we've done the loin and the belly. So we've got 12 nice pork chops, 1 rack of ribs, the skin for crackling, the loin for bacon, half a belly for bacon, and 4 belly slices. Bearing in mind, this is only off half a pig, so you can times all this by 4, because we've done exactly the same with the other 3 halves that we've already done. So now we're going to tackle the leg. Now this year we're going to do it different. Last year we did the whole thing as pork joints. This year we're going to do it all as gammon. So we're going to have a little gammon joint, we're going to have a Christmas ham, and then we're going to do pork steaks off the chump end. So firstly, we need to get this foot off. So first of all, you just start by making a cut behind that cap there, and get your saw through the bone, and then cut that off, and that'll just go into stock. Right, so we'll just start by trimming this up and tidying the top up a bit. So if you just cut all the rough off so you can see what you're dealing with. All this trim here, all this nice meat. You don't want them glands in there, so just getting the meat. All that nice meat will go into trim, and then all this fat and skin will just go out. Now we're just going to get the tailbone out. So if you just put your knife in there and you go into that joint and then you crack it open like that, and then just into the meat, and then you can just get the tip of your knife, go around the tailbone, staying as close to the bone as you can, trim it up a bit, and then there's the tailbone for stock. Now we're just going to get on with the hip bone or isle bone. So you've got a nice thick bit of meat there which you want to take out for trim. And then all you want to do here, the bone's a funny shape, so you come off that top bit there and you come down with your knife, keeping it feeling the shape of the bone down to the bottom there. Then just run the tip of your knife around that, and then around the top of the hip bone there. Then we're just going to lever this open so you can cut down into the joint. So you're just releasing the joint there, the tip of your knife, go through the joint under the bone. Like I said, we have got a more detailed video that Tracy will link below if we're going a bit too fast for you. So we've got the isle bone out, we're just going to trim the excess off that. And then the rest of the bone will go into stock. Right, now we're just going to take the shank off. So the shank's got 2 bones in it. This big bone here that you can see, and the little bone in there that you can't. So you're just going to run your knife down the bone that you can see, just keep feeling the bone up until you hit the joint, and then you just go through the joint and it'll all start coming loose. Then you just want to take your tip of your knife and keep running it down the big bone keeping it nice and close to the bone, keeping as much meat on the shank as you can. And then that's another bone for the stock. Then inside is the little pin bone. You can see the top of it once you've got that big bone out there. So there's the top of the pin bone. So you just want to slide your knife down the top of that. Trying to do it while Tracy's in the way with the camera. And then just go underneath the bone and take that little pin bone out. And there's another bone for the stock pot. Now we just get all this shank meat out. So if you just grab the meat and just go to the natural seam, that's half of it out, that'll just go in there. And then where you can see the joint that you took it off from, just get your big knife, cut that straight across, not too much because you don't want to be going into the nice meat of the leg. And then you've just got this last bit of the shank where you're just going to run your knife under and take the meat away from the skin. And the skin will just go in the bin, and this will just get cut up for sausage meat. Now there's a few ways you can do this next bit. I'm just going to show you the way I do it. There'll be some butchers out there on YouTube land criticising it and cringing, and there'll be some that do it the same way as me. So this is just the way we do it. So what we're going to do is we're going to get a horseshoe gammon. That's going to be the Christmas ham, and then off the thick flank bit here at the back, we're just going to get another little gammon, and then off the end here we're going to get leg steaks. So where you can see you've took the hip bone out, there's like a natural line there. So you're just going to go in front of this bone and cut that off at that angle, like that. And then we'll just put that to one side for now, and then we'll show you what we do with that. Then you're going to turn this round, and then where you've got your femur bone there, you can see there's a natural line runs down the side of the meat there. So you want to be roughly following that line. So if you just put your knife in, using the tip of your knife again to feel for the bone, and just don't go too deep to start with, and then you'll see a natural seam open up when you get into it. So there, you see the natural seam opening up there. So you don't want to go into that other meat down there. So then we just go around the base of the bone, and then again down the other side of it, not going too deep, and then go around the front. Using the tip of your knife, and then once you get to that point, you've got another little cap there. You just want to go around that with your tip of your knife and take that out, and then just trim up any little bits of meat off it, and then that will go into stock also. So when you're at this point where you've just took your bone out, if you fold it back together, you can open it up and you'll see a natural seam down that side there. So all we want to do is spin that round, and then we just want to come down that seam and take this bit of meat away from the skin. So just open it out and just use your knife, and it'll just pull away from the skin like that. And then all we do with the big piece is that piece of gristle there. You want to come through that and then take this bit of skin off. Get as close to the meat as you can without cutting into the meat. Take that bit of skin off there, and then all I'll do with this piece, when you close it, you can see how that, when you slice it, it'll be like gammon horseshoe slices. So all I'm going to do is get it so that bit's buttered up so it's nice and square, and then just square off that end. You don't have to do this, this is just because we want some more sausage meat, so we're just going to maximise the trim. And then all you have to do now is just open it up, and you've got a big bit of fat that sits inside there. So we just open it up and then just ease the fat away. You can take that bit of trim out and just get down into that big lump of fat. You don't have to take it out, but it'll just, when you're slicing it later on when it's cooked, you'll just hit a big lump of fat. So I'll just take that out, and that'll just look better when you're trimming it up at the end. So that'll go down as a Christmas ham, but this piece is a lot bigger than what we want. So when it's cured we're going to take some full slices of gammons off it, maybe 4 gammon steaks to about there, and then that little piece there will be a nice Christmas ham. Now the piece you took off the side, which is the thick flank, it all looks a bit scraggly, but inside there, that ball there like that is a lovely thick solid piece of meat, which is also going to go down as a little gammon joint. So all we're going to do is just trim the fat off the top, and then trim all the not very nice looking stuff off the side. It's all about presentation, and then we just tidy it all up. Don't forget, all this is going into sausage meat, it's not going into waste, so you can trim it as hard or as lean as you like. So that was, you like that for a nice little gammon joint, and all this will go into nice sausage meat trim. So the last piece of the leg we're going to address is the chump end bit. So like I say, there's probably a million ways to do this, but this is just the way I do it. So all I do is I just take a couple of inches off this end as trim down to the skin, and then square off the other end down to the skin. And then all I'm going to do with the middle bit is just square it up so you've got a nice rectangular piece of meat there. And then leaving these flaps on the end for a reason, so you can get your knife down to the skin, and hopefully in one go you can cut through the fat and the skin, leaving a nice thin layer of skin, and then cutting the fat off, so you've got a skinless chump of leg. Then all we do with this is just square it up, and then turn it over, and we're going to get, well, we'll see how many pork steaks we get out of it. So 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 nice steaks, and then maybe 5. Why not? So yes, 5 nice leg steaks, 1 nice big Christmas ham, 1 small ham, and then the bottom of the chump that we cut off, we'll just take that meat off there again for trim for sausage meat. Right, the last section of the pig we're going to do is the shoulder. So half of this is the rack side, which is this end, which is going to go into 3 joints for Sunday roasts, and this half, which is the hand side, is just going to go into trim for sausage meat. So all we do to start with this one, so we're going to start by taking the shank off. So you've got 1 big bone in this side, so all you want to do is break the skin so you can feel where the bone is. Keep your knife close to the bone. Take that big bit of meat off, then the other side of the bone, you get your tip of your knife, come down the other side of the bone, and then you want to go underneath and just break that little bit there. And then up here is the joint. So if you just cut across there, you'll see the joint break, and then you just get your tip of your knife in, go around the joint, and take that bone out for stock. And then all we do after we've took that bone off is just to take that bit of shank meat off there as well for sausage meat. Now we're going to come up to take the rib bones out. So you just want to come through this bit of gristle here, which isn't bone, it's just gristle, so you'll be able to get through it with your knife, and you just loosen that bit till you get to the meat, just staying onto against the bone, and then again there's some more stock bones. Now we just flip it round, and we're going to come down this spinal cord here, well, not spinal cord, down the spinal bone, and then under these ribs, and then we just grab hold of the ribs, keeping the tip of your knife close to the bone, and just come round until you get to the bottom of the spinal bone, and then under that one, and then when there's the few little bones left, depending on how they split them in half at the slaughterhouse. Sometimes that will come out with that bone, other times, like you can see, they've gone a bit close. So all you do is just come down them bones there and take them bones out. Now once we've got that bone out, we're just going to tidy all this fatty, bloody glands up that you can't use. So we'll just tidy all them up, and then we'll just tidy all this rough, dry meat at the bottom up. You don't want to take too much of that off. Just tidy it up a bit down to the fat. And then this big lump of fat at the bottom, all I'll do with that, if it's too fat, I'll just take a nice bit of fatty trim off, and all that is just for the bin. Right, now we're going to get the shoulder blade out. So there's a joint inside there which comes from this bone here into your shoulder blade. And normally you either get a big lump of fat like that, which is the area of where it is, or you'll get a little piece of like a bloody area. So in this case, it's a big white lump of fat. So what you want to do is put your knife in there, and you'll just cut straight through the joint, separating the two bones like that. Then all we do is just come down the side of this blade bone like that, just using the tip of your knife. You don't want to go too deep, and then come across the top of the blade bone like that, keeping it nice and close to the bone, and then just with your tip of your knife come down the other side. And then the easy way to get it out is just press on the bottom of the bone. You can see it lifting. Just put the tip of your knife under there and just go to about there. And then all you want to do is get your fingers, hold that side of the meat, and then that'll just pull out, leaving as much meat as it can inside. And then you'll get a nice clean blade bone out. Again, that'll just go for stock. Then once we've got to that point, all we're going to do is get our Sunday roasts. So you want to close it back up. This is the half you want. So you decide where you want to go for your joint. Obviously your rack end's there, but if you want, you can get it a bit bigger. If you want, a bit smaller, and how much trim you want. And then you're just going to cut straight across, and then we'll get to rolling that in a minute. Right, so onto the hand side of pork. All we're going to do with this is we're just going to skin it off, take the bone out, and then we're just going to chop the whole lot up to go into sausage meat. So there's no finesse required on this bit. You just go in whichever way you like, just getting that skin off. You can leave as much fat or as little fat as you want, like I said, personal preference. I'm just going to skin all this off and put it in the sausage meat. Right, so that's the hand side cut up for sausage meat. We're going to need a bigger bowl. And now we get on to this rack side for joints. So we're just going to score it. So just using the tip of your knife. Don't go too deep. Turn it round. Go back over. And then we're going to string it up and get 3 nice joints out of that. Right, so now we've got it all strung up. We're just going to tidy this end up because this is the neck end and it's full of glands and stuff you don't want in your joints or your trim. So we're just going to square that end up, and then you'll see the gland which is there, and then the other part of it is in there. We just cut that out like that. You don't want them. And then the rest of this trim will just go into sausage meat. And then we'll cut this into 3 nice Sunday roast joints. How's them? Beautiful. So that's the whole half pig done. We'll go and get the rest. We'll put it all together and we'll show you what a year's worth of pork looks like to feed a family of 4. Well, here it is. a year's worth supply of pork for our family of 4. Now there's a lot of different ways you can do it, but this is how we've chose to do it this year, which will best suit our needs. So it's not actually all here because we've got 3 half more loins of pork down already in salt for bacon, and we've got 2 full bellies and another half belly down in salt for bacon, and we've already got 2 big topside joints, which is that joint there off your leg of pork, which are already down for gammons. Now tomorrow Tracy's going to show you the mix that we put in for salt for the bacon and the mix that we put in the brine for the gammon. So we're going to do all that tomorrow. So just to finish this part of the video off, we need to get what we've just done tonight bagged and into the freezer and get all this into the freezer. And one thing we will show you just before we finish off this section tonight is of that whole half pig, this is the only waste we've got. So what we'll do is we're going to use the bones for stock, so we don't class them as waste. So what we're going to do, we're going to weigh this and we're going to times it by 4 as if we've got this waste of the 4 half pigs that we've got. And then we're going to do all the calculations. We'll work out what it's cost us on feed, on the slaughter bill, on the mixes and everything for the sausages, because there's a stack of sausages under there that Tracy made her own. She'll go through all that with you, what she did for that. But just a quick rundown of what we've got, just a rough estimate of what we've got tonight. We've got 75 packs of sausage and burgers, only 2 flavours this year. We did 5 flavours last year. 1 flavour we didn't like at all, and we had 30 packs of sausage to get through, so we just thought, right, we picked the 2 best that we liked last year and we just stuck with that, plain and simple. Last year we didn't do enough sausage meat for what we use, so this year we've got 20 bags there, and then we've got all this trim here, which will probably make another 20 bags, so that'll be 40 bags of sausage meat. We only kept 8 bags of pork mince because we didn't really use a lot of that last year. We used a lot of chops last year, so we did more this year. So I think we got 48 chops, so all in packs of 2. We did exactly the same with the shoulders because our favourite pork joint is a shoulder joint for Sunday dinners. So we did exactly the same as last year. We got 12 of them. This year we did leg steaks, which we didn't do last year because we did all leg joints, which we like a bit of fatty meat. So the legs are pretty lean, so we weren't as keen on the leg joints. So all we done, instead of getting 4 off a leg, like we did last year, or 5 off a leg, I can't remember, we only took 2 off, and the rest we did into leg steaks. So we got, I think we've got 8 packs of leg steaks with the ones we've just done tonight. Also, we've got like the 4 racks of ribs, we've got the belly pork slices. What else have we got? We've got, the liver, we've got the packs of liver, we've got the kidneys for the dogs. We've got the pork tenderloin, 4 pork tenderloin or pork fillet. We've got the 6 pork leg joints because, like I say, we did the Christmas ham off that last leg where we would have got 2 joints of it, so that went into the Christmas ham. We've got the big bag of fat, which is going to go into lard, and we've got the bones, which a nice pot of bones, which we times by 4 because we've got the other 3 halves as well, which are going to go in for stock. So, woo! That's 1 half pig done tonight, 4 halves in total, 2 pigs. Amazing freezer full of pork, can't wait to get into it. So we're going to get it all away, get some cooked up, and we're going to have a porky tea tonight.
Well, following on from Stephen butchering the pig last night, I have spent this morning getting the majority of it in the freezer, but I'm trying not to put too much in at once because we need to build it up, let it freeze, and then add a little bit more. So that's going to be a continuation throughout the day. My next task of the day is to create the brine for what will be the gammons. So using these leg joints here that Stephen showed you last night, I think we've got 6 of those, and then there's also the Christmas ham, which is going in the same brine. We're just calling it Christmas ham because we're going to save it for the festive period. And then we'll take a look at the bacon using this belly pork joint and this loin here that we've got. So I'll get those weighed up. I'll get those weighed up in just a moment, but I want to get the brine on the go because you have to get this boiled up and allow it to cool before you can get the hams or get the pork into it to then create the gammons over a few days. So what I've got in here, I've got 2.5 litres of water. The other ingredients that we're going to be using, the liquids, is cider. So we're going to need 1 litre of cider, 1 litre of apple juice, and this is our home pressed apple juice, if you saw that video a couple back. I don't think there's a full litre in here though because we left a bit of space in these for expansion in the freezer. but I have got some from last year that I pressure canned, so we'll make that up using that if we need to. We want some free flowing salt. We've got food grade, the PDV salt. Bay leaves from the garden. I've just been and picked these fresh. And then we need a kilo of brown sugar, kilo of demerara sugar, and the spices we're using are juniper berries, whole cloves, and black peppercorns. Now what I'm going to do is put the link to the recipe that we're using on the in the description below, because it's actually a river cottage recipe. So even though I haven't gone over all of the values or the weights that we're going to be using, everything's going to be on there. And I've also got the water already in this stock pot, but I am thinking that this might not be big enough. So let's get all the ingredients in, create the brine, and see if it is big enough. We might need a bigger boat. Right, so I've poured the apple juice into here, and as you can see, it's just under 1 litre. So I am going to take some of this, and then we can just drink the rest. So this is, as I say, just pressure canned from last year. It smells great. So I'm going to make that up to 1 litre, and then add that to the pan in a moment. But in this little measuring cup here, I've got 10 cloves, 25 juniper berries, and now we want 35 grams. So we're not counting these out, we're weighing these. Of peppercorns, black peppercorns. That's exactly what I was going to go over. And I've got my salt, which is actually 1.1 kilos of salt. And then we're also going to need a litre of cider in a moment. So I'm going to add this into the pan, which is just coming to a boil. It's going to take a while, so I'm getting it going. And then a litre, I think we are going to need a bigger boat, and a litre of cider as well. Right, as you can see, we've had to go to a bigger pot because I totally forgot that there's the sugar to go in as well as this salt. So I'm adding the salt in. This has already started simmering, if you can see the steam coming. I'm just going to give that a stir and then add in the sugars. So there's a kilo of each type of sugar. This one will probably pour a bit better than the other one. There's a kilo bag, so I don't need to weigh these out. And get those added in, get it dissolving over a few minutes over a low heat, and then leave that to cool back down to room temperature, and we can transfer it into a food grade bucket with the pork, with the leg joints, and then hopefully in a few days time we'll have a nice lot of gammon. And then final addition is going to be the bay leaves before we leave it to simmer to dissolve all the salts and sugars, and then we'll leave that come down to room temperature. But for now, we're going to go and get on with the bacon. Next up this morning, we're going to be getting to the back bacon, the loin there, and all I've got in here is 25 or so juniper berries, and these need a bit of a crush. So we're going to be putting this bacon into a dry cure over about 5 days or so. And you're also going to add to this 25 grams of ground black pepper. So this is Stephen's protein shaker that we've just ground them up in. So that was fresh peppercorns ground. And then additionally, we've got brown sugar, we've got more of the salt and some bay leaves. Right, let's get all of these added together. I'm going to shred some of these bay leaves, probably just about 4 or so, rather than putting them in whole, which is in the stock over there. And then give it a mix with my hands, which are clean. I'll give this a mix first because the pepper and juniper berries can go in last. And then we're going to put a little bit on the bottom of the tray here. It says about 50 grams or so. Stephen does this for a living. He knows what he's doing. I don't. So I'm just going to follow the instructions in the book so that you guys can get the same book and follow along if you're interested. So then we're going to put a small amount on the bottom. And as I say, this cure is supposed to last us for the next 5 days or so. This is going to go in the fridge and it'll produce liquid each day. Now I'm going to turn this over in a second just to make sure that it's massaged in everywhere before we leave it and put it in the fridge and come back to it every day. And then I'm just going to try and make sure that I get some on each of the ends. You don't really want it kind of hanging about at the end of the box either. We want to make sure that we use it all. We'll take that last bit to the bottom and then just add that on. And then I'm going to cover this up and put this in the fridge and see what it's looking like tomorrow. Talk about a change of plans. So I had a sweet Q recipe that I got off the internet that we're going to be using for this streaky bacon, and Stephen's just said to me, why don't you just use half of the mix that we've already got that we've used on the back bacon and just add the sweet side of things to this. Now this recipe that I was going to do, the original one, calls for maple syrup, which we've got in the pantry there, but we've had a better idea. At least we hope it's going to turn out to be a better idea. We have got some of our own syrups on the shelf that we're not getting through as quickly as we're producing the next lot. This one is a rhubarb and saffron, and it's actually supposed to be a jelly that never ever set, and it's turned into a bit of a syrup, which is the usual story around here. So you might have heard that pop. I've just taken the lid off, so that was a good seal. And we're going to use this to replace the maple syrup in with the Q that we've got here. So this is very much experimenting on the job. So that's kind of half and half syrup and jelly. And we're just using half of the Q that's left and a full jar of, that's 250ml, mixing it together. And then we're going to add this to our streaky bacon. This is going to be sticky in this other tub that we've got here. These tubs have been cleaned out and sanitised. We should be good to go. I think there's only one way I'm going to be able to get this done, isn't there? And that's with my hands. That's what the syrup's looking like before it goes in. The big brown lumps that you can see, kind of the treacle, the molasses from the sugar and the peppercorns. Here goes nothing. I'm going to pour it all on to start off with. And then massage it in exactly the same as the other one. But all of the Q is going on this time. That's how Stephen normally does it. And then we'll just keep massaging it in every day. But this is going to be super runny for obvious reasons. Over. It turns out nicer than it looks. There we have it, 2 boxes of our home raised pork turned into bacon, one more salty, one sweeter, and then we've got the gammons that will go into that brine once it's cooled off. Stephen's going to give me a hand with that. I'm really pleased that we've managed to get some of our home raised ingredients in here as well, from the apple juice, the syrup, the bay leaves, etc. So now fingers crossed that they turn out okay. We will be right back as soon as that brine's cooled off.
Well, we didn't get a chance last night to put the gammons down in the brine because it just wouldn't chill down fast enough before we went to bed. So we transferred it into this bucket. So we've got about 7 litres, and then we just put this big bucket in our big fridge that we have where we hang the lambs and everything. We put that in there to chill down overnight. So now we're going to transfer the gammons into the brine and get them totally submerged and chilled out. We might need to put a weighted plate or something on the top of them to keep them submerged, but we will get them submerged. Also, what we've got going on tonight, we've put a tray of the pork skin for pork scratching, so we're going to get them in the air fryer after we've done this. And we've also got a big stock pot over there full of the bones, making a load of stock to go in the freezer as well. So quite a bit going on still with these pigs. So we're going to get these in, get the skin in the air fryer, and then we'll give you a run through of how much it cost us to raise the pigs at home. Right, so normally as a rule, you leave them in for 3 days per kilo. So obviously some are bigger than the others, and these are roughly about 1 kilo in weight, but I like to give them a little bit longer, so I'll probably leave these ones in for a week and probably leave the big one in for a fortnight, and then we'll get them out and that should be done. We are pushing our luck really cramming these in, so after a couple of days we'll just go back in and we'll just give them a stir around just so that they're not touching in the same place for too many days at a time, just so let that brine penetrate right into the meat. Right, so if you'd have a see in there, they aren't sinking underneath the liquid, so I'm just going to weigh them down with this lid and push them under, and then just put this heavy cast iron pot on the top of them just to keep them down. And they're fully submerged, and I'm going to get them back in the fridge. Right, while the crackling's cooking in the air fryer, I thought I'd give you a breakdown of what it costs to raise 2 pigs at home, or what it costs us anyway. So every time we do a pig video, one of the most asked questions is, how much does it cost to raise the pigs? And we can never answer it. We're always just guessing, because we never keep an account of the food we buy and what it costs to actually buy them and then send them to slaughter. So this year, we've done it specifically for that. So the 2 pigs cost us £50 each, so £100. That was 12-week-old weaners. Then the feed, that's the big cost, went through 36 bags. Now roughly it's £10 a bag. It's less for when they get older and it's a little bit more for when they're younger. So it roughly works out £10 a bag, so it's £360. The abattoir fee was £70, £35 each. The seasonings for the sausages, that's not just seasonings, that's for the bags, the trays, the sausage skins and the sausage seasonings that we actually bought came to £70, and the ingredients for the gammons and the bacon came to £40. So for a total of 2 pigs, came to £640. Now it sounds expensive, but I'm going to break that down a little bit more and show you what you actually get for your money. Right, so that was the total cost for the 2 pigs. So let's see what we got for that price. So the total weight for the 2 pigs was 180 kilos. One was a bit bigger and one was a bit smaller, so we just averaged them out at 90 kilos per pig. So it cost us £320 per pig. Now after the waste, when you're seeing on the video, the waste, we got 5 kilos per half. So that was 10 kilos per carcass, which left us with 80 kilos of usable meat, skin and bones for stock. So we're going to break that down a little bit further and just see how much it would cost us in the real world if we were actually buying this much pork. Please stay with me, we're nearly finished. So the cost to us was £320 per pig, and it gives us a usable weight of 80 kilos. So to work out how much that cost per kilo, we just did the 320 divided by the 80 kilos of the weight of the pig, and it gives us £4 a kilo, which works out in old school £1.81 a pound. So we did some research on the internet and we just looked up free range pork, because we didn't want to look up organic because we can't class ourselves as organic, and we didn't want to look up supermarket prices because ours are outdoor reared free range pork, which you rarely find that in a supermarket. So what we found was we just picked up a couple of prices. So for the legs, the average price for a leg of pork, bone and rolled, which we did, was £12.85 a kilo, £5.84 pound. The shoulder average was £12.20 a kilo, £5.54 pound. The chops, bit more expensive, £14.66 or £6.66 a pound. And the sausages, which I was surprised for, were dearer than the shoulder, were £13.45 a kilo or £6.11 a pound. So for us, it cost us a third of the price of what it would if we wanted to source it elsewhere. Plus, we had the added bonus of we know what they've been eating, that we know how they've been treated, and we know what we're putting in our bodies. So it's a big win all around for raising pigs at home. Now I'm going to see how my crackling's done in the air fryer. I'll let you know how that turns out. But for now, I hope you found this useful, and we'll see you in the next video.